Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Your Words, Your Voice. This is your host, James Hopkins, and my co-host, Deja, in the audience today. My special guest today is a man that's just really been doing a lot of work in the communities, in the city, and he's just been all over the place. So I was fortunate enough to squeeze a little time out of him today. And without further ado, I want to introduce you all to Mississippi State Representative, the Fabian Nelson. Welcome to the show, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you so much for having me. It is indeed an honor and a pleasure to be here with you this evening. I've been tuning in to your podcast, so I'm excited to be a guest on here. Thanks for the invitation.
We're excited to have you. I want to just put this little disclaimer. I do look down a lot. Somebody brought it to my attention on last week's show, said you look down a lot like you're uninterested. I read notes when I'm looking down, so it's not ignoring you or it's not being uninterested. My eyes aren't what they used to be. So I look down a lot, read notes, and a lot of times I look at some of the people who are logged on to the live page.
Okay.
You know, because I just like to let everybody know that I appreciate them watching and that I see them watching.
Definitely. Understand that. It's all good.
Okay, so my first question for you, and I'm going to jump right on into it because we only have an hour. My first question for you is a simple question that I know you probably get a lot. What made you decide to run for office?
I get that quite a bit. I got it a lot on the campaign trail, but even after being elected, I still get that question quite a bit. And it's simply, I want it better for my community. And I tell people when they're considering running for office, what you need to ask yourself is, am I happy with my current elected officials? Mm-hmm. If the answer is no, and you think you can do the job better than them, then you should run for office.
Okay.
And so I just got tired of fighting, advocating for things from my community and never seeing it get done. Okay. You know, you tell people you need this, we're going to work on it for you, and it doesn't get done. So I said, hey, I'm going to stop asking, and I'm going to be the one that can, bring these things to my district. So
bring it. How big is your district? Because at one point I wasn't aware of just how big it is. So how big is your district?
My district starts in South Jackson, goes down to Byram, goes down to Terry, and then it comes up to a little bit of Raymond and Utica.
Wow, that's a big area.
So I have suburban, urban, and rural. I get the best of all three worlds.
Okay, look.
Two school districts. Wow. I have a lot.
You take care of them, though. You're definitely out there. I want to tell people how we met. And it's actually, we were out, of course, Reset Jackson. For those of you who know, we do a lot of, community work and community fee and what have you. But I decided to run for mayor. Someone told me about this guy that only got 30-some votes.
33.
33 votes in his first election. But he came back and he won the next election. So first, I wanted to talk about how did he change the voters' perception of who he was and their mindset. But I spoke with him once or twice, and then all of a sudden he was like, hey, look, I want to be a part of the work y'all do in the community. Now, he's a state representative. I was really just trying to go to him to get some political knowledge. But because of who he is, he understood the work that we did in the community as Reset Jackson was important. And he actually offered his assistance. I wasn't going to ask because I already said, man, that guy ain't finna come out here and work with us. He with the state. But he offered his assistance. And we have been working together within the community ever since then. And that's been close to a year now.
Close to a year.
So we become friends. We're not just, political friends or whatever you want to call it. But we're actually friends in the community and friends with each other. Carl, how you doing? How's everything going? But it's heartwarming to see someone that can get elected and still remain honest to the people, because one of the biggest problems we have with our elected officials is they're honest to the people until they get in that office. And once they're in office, you don't see them anymore until it's time for that big water giveaway right before the next election.
That's it.
Right. So I want to commend you on the work that you do in the community. And speaking of the work that you do in the community, let's talk about the apartment complexes. Right now, we're having a big ordeal with a lot of apartment complexes. So Chapel Ridge, we bumped into each other again at Chapel Ridge.
Absolutely.
We had a Byron Brumfield. He got a lot of people out there, a lot of organizations to come out there, and we made a big fuss about it. But you came out, and when everybody was gone, you were still there. tell us some of the things you did to help Chapel Ridge trash situation get cleaned up.
Just so people know, that's not in my district. It's close to my district. But the way I see it is, I don't do that. My district, your district. If you're in South Jackson, I represent you.
Okay.
If you're in Byram and you call, because what happens right next door to my district, guess what? It comes over into my district.
Into yours.
And so just with the Chapel Ridge situation, we went out there. It was just trash everywhere, smelled bad, vultures flying around, animals running through the parking lot. And I said, we can't leave here without doing something about this. One of our community partners, Mr. James Hopkins, from Hopkins Junk Removal.
Right, and I'm trying to get him on the show too. Go ahead.
He's a great guy. And so, he heard about what was going on and he reached out and said, hey, let me come look at it and figure out what I can start doing to kind of help these people. And the next day he had boots on the ground. I was out there with him, just, me and him and a few other guys just trying to load some of the stuff up. The dilemma with the city of Jackson, they were not able to go out there because you can't use taxpayer dollars to clean private property without having a court order or a zoning things. It takes a while. And so what we were able to do is we got people from the community involved. Councilman Vernon Hartley came out there with his equipment and got everything hauled off. Supervisor Wanda Evers, that's not her district, but guess what? She brought a dumpster out there from the county to make sure the stuff can be dumped. But we care about people.
Okay.
And when you care about people, you'll do whatever you need to do whenever there's a need.
Regardless of whose district it's
Regardless of whose district they're in, because this is still our city. This is still our state. If it's somebody in another part of Mississippi and I'm able to go up there and help them, I'm going to go up there and do it because that's what we are. That's what we're supposed to be doing. As a legislator, our job is basically to pass legislation, fix legislation, work on state budgets, and make sure our community get the resources that it needs. That's not part of our job, but that's the right thing to do. We got to get out of this, this is my title, I can't come and work, I can't do that, that's beneath me. Other people should be doing it. When other people aren't doing the job, you need to get off your butt and do your part, because when you start doing your part, hopefully the other pieces of the puzzle will come together.
Right, and that's the truth bomb, people. Okay, so next, don't forget you can call in to the show and please call in. Take advantage of what we're offering here. The number is 601-387-2684. Again, that's 601-387-2684. I'm not gonna be that tough on Mr. Nelson, but there may be somebody out there that just want to bash me in with questions. Call in.
Let's get it. That's what we're here to do.
I was gonna try to give him a list of questions, but he said I don't want any questions. He said just shoot it straight to me, and that's how I want to answer the questions. And that again is something that's honorable, because you can't get a lot of people who will be like, well, I need to know what questions you're gonna ask me first. But look, he said just ask me the questions when I get there.
When you know what you know. That's all it is to it. If you ask me a question, I don't know the answer. Hey, I can get back. I can research it and get back, to you on it. But I don't like, rehearsing. I want to all be natural and genuine.
Okay. Look, we have a caller already.
Okay.
Okay, caller, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? So I had a question. You mentioned apartments. What are you guys doing for the apartments?
I can't hear the caller.
I heard you guys say something about apartments. What are you guys necessarily doing when it comes towards apartments?
What are they doing when it comes to the apartments?
Yes, sir.
What are they doing as far as trying to get them back in line, back in order?
Yes, sir. Okay. And how would that the young youth that's coming up now, how would we be able to access those? Because I feel like in South Jackson, which is where I'm from, it's a lot of not necessarily opportunities out there for us to try and do better, which is why a lot of us kind of turn into the routes that people see going on nowadays. You guys know we're from Jackson, yeah. Okay. Because I feel like it's really because a lot of us don't have the opportunity or opportunities to actually better ourselves at work, to try and build ourselves into something better than our environment.
Okay, you want to answer that?
All right. And this is about, just so I'm clear, the caller asked, what are we doing for our youth, especially like in the South Jackson area, because there don't seem to be opportunities.
That, and also he's trying to. I'm assuming he's speaking like opportunities as far as being a part of helping to fix what's going on in the apartment complexes, whether it may be clean up. Am I correct, sir? Yes, sir. To be a part of the fixing and clean up of the apartments.
Okay, so we'll take it. Let's break it down into two parts. I guess we'll talk about like what's the plan for the apartments.
Right.
All right. So we have unfortunately two apartments that are on the radar right now. One is Chapel Ridge, and the other one is Blossom Apartments, I believe. It's that one, I'm not familiar. That one isn't in my district. Well, what we have going on with Chapel Ridge Apartments is the owners have absentee owners. Mm-hmm. The owners were in prison. So we cannot locate the owners there, and so we don't have owners up there. The water, they have a water bill of, I forgot how much, it's like $600,000, I want to say, maybe a little bit more. And so currently the city of Jackson, or Jackson Water rather, will be going to disconnect the water over there. And so I think they're going to do it like next week or either later on this week. And so we're urging all of the people to find other accommodations because they won't be able to live there without water. Over at Blossom, similar situation. Well, we know where the owner is. The owner just allegedly has not been paying the water bill, has not paid a bill since 2020, and he owes between $400,000 to $500,000 to Jackson Water. So the water has been shut off, and Jackson Water says that they're not going to turn the water back on until that bill is paid in full. And so over at Blossom, we have several community partners, the city of Jackson, as well as others have been going and donating water, drinking water to them. Jackson Fire Department has been over there giving them water to flush the toilets with, and water of that sort. Mm-hmm. So that's a short-term fix. However, this is not going to be a long-term fix. They also have discovered that several people over there don't have AC. And so we have people in 100-degree temperatures outside with no AC. So there's several things that are going to have to happen. Now, one thing that I definitely want to commend Mayor John Horn on is he has formed a new task force. It's an apartment task force that's going to go around and make sure that the apartment communities are doing what they should do, when it comes to their citizens. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I do want to say is Jackson Water has been responsible for the water here in the city of Jackson for the past few years. Right. I wish that there were more accountability to stop these water bills from getting, because we talk about 2020, Jackson Water came in a little after that. Right. We need to make sure that everybody's being held to the same standard, because if I don't pay my water bill or you don't pay your water bill, they're not going to let it go up to $500 without turning us off.
Without turning us off.
And so if this had happened earlier before the bill got to be astronomically high, then we would have been able to get the owner's attention. Mm-hmm. He could say, well, maybe let me get on a payment plan, but if they're wanting $400,000 or $500,000, they're not going to get it. And now we have people and residents that are displaced.
Okay. Well, look, I have someone sent me, and I don't know if I must have deleted it or something, but the Chapel Ridge situation, they have new owners now. And someone sent me a letter this morning, and it stated that they did have new owners, and he was supposed to be talking to someone at Jackson Water today about holding off on the meter. I haven't heard back from him yet. Okay. But I'm definitely going to keep everybody, in the loop on what's going on with that Chapel Ridge situation. So hopefully if they did get new owners and they're able to fix that situation, it's definitely going to be a blessing for those who really, just can't get out, and move. And I want to touch bases on something else you said too, about letting bills get astronomical. I read an article today that says the Jackson Zoo owes $6.4 million in water bills. Now, the question was asked by Judge Wingate, why has this never been mentioned? Why are we forcing people, who are struggling basically day to day to pay bills, to do without water when we have an entire city, an entire corporation that's $6.4 million in debt with water bills, So how do you think something like that happens? First, how do you get $6.4 million in debt? Now, I'll tell you what they said, that there was a leak or something at the Jackson Zoo in one of the exhibits. But see, we're talking about he just sent me this letter back. Okay, I'm gonna read this Chapel Ridge letter, and we'll get back to this Jackson Zoo situation. It says, Chapel Ridge Holdings, LLC, notice letter to tenants. We are pleased to inform you that Chapel Ridge Holdings, LLC, has acquired ownership of your apartment community and management responsibilities. We intend to notify each tenant with a Chapel Ridge Holding notice letter placed on the tenant's door. And this from Mr. Larry Jackson, senior asset manager. And it comes from Chapel Ridge Holdings, LLC. I believe these are the same people who own the ones in Madison County and Flowood, the Chapel Ridge apartments out there. So he also stated that the young man was supposed to be, again, talking to somebody with the city and Mr. Hennepin to see if they can hold off and start fresh with this water situation. But back to the Jackson Zoo. Who's going to have to pay that $6.4 million?
It's going to ultimately fall on the city, the city of Jackson. My question is such as Wingate's, how did we get there to $6.4 million bill? I mean, we only have 5 animals in the whole zoo.
Right.
And if there is
each animal owes $1.25 million.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so we need to figure out if there was a leak when Jackson Water, whenever you go out to read a meter, when you see that meter spinning real fast, you know that it's a leak. And so if a bill is $1,000 this month and next month it's $50,000, you know that there has to be a leak. So number one, how did we get to that? Number two, my second question is, why is this now coming out when Judge Wingate refuses to allow a rate increase?
Right.
Because Jackson Water has been knowing this before.
Right.
So why has this not come up? And when you look at Judge Wingate, he's looking at, y'all have let the several apartment communities owe several millions of dollars. Y'all have let them they've gotten behind. Now you telling us that the city of Jackson owes $6.4 million. Why has this not been brought to my attention? But you want to go out here and the people that are paying their bill, punish them and raise their bills to offset your lack of collections when it comes to collecting money.
We're going to come back to that answer. We have another caller online. Caller, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, caller. You still there? Oh, you still there, caller?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So, good evening. I'm just tuning in late to the show, but I do want to say I commend you, Representative Nelson, for the work that you're doing. I know today we had a very, very powerful meeting with other stakeholders in the community that we're talking about how can we rid Jackson of some of the problems that we're having. And so I tapped into a little bit of the information in regards to the water issues and the woes of the apartment complexes. But I want to challenge everybody that is listening to Mr. Hopkins' podcast or show, should I say, to become actively engaged. And actively engaged means being a participant. It takes all of us to rid our communities of the problems that we're facing. But the major thing is we're not being active. We're all coming up with all the solutions, but no one is actually implementing the solutions. So again, Representative Nelson, to you and your fellow colleagues and other stakeholders in the community who are actively working, continue the great work. Hopefully it's a domino effect and it rubs off on other individuals that want to partake in the work that's being done. And so I just want to salute you, Mr. Hopkins. I want to thank you for your selfless service that you were wanting to be for a candidate for mayor. Even though you were unsuccessful, continue doing the work and make certain that, again, as I tell Representative Nelson all the time, you're doing the work for a cause and not for an applause. And again, I'm enjoying listening
I like
to your
that.
show.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, caller.
All right, thank you. Hey, always positive.
I like it that way.
That's what we like to hear.
That's so true.
Okay,
Now
we have another caller.
Okay.
Well, okay, let's skip on. They'll call
Okay.
back. You were talking about the bills being raised while businesses and people like that are able to get these hundreds of thousands, even $1 million bills.
Absolutely. And it's just not right.
It's not. And I saw something. I read an article in Clarion Ledger also that says Mr. Hennepin even talked about resigning because Judge Wingate wouldn't allow him to raise these bills. Now, I've been giving him a lot of props, for getting things done in this city. But he have a $27 million bill that he's trying to get taken care of. I forgot whether it said it was for work or equipment. But when he took over, he had $880 million.
That's a lot of money.
That's $1 billion he had. Now, I'm like the judge. I'm inclined to wonder, where did $1 billion go that you can't afford a $27 million piece of equipment? And I see a lot of commercials also with Jackson Water, and I know commercials aren't cheap.
I said the same thing
and
when I see
know
those.
These TV stations aren't just giving them free commercials. So we know who Jackson Water is. To me, that's a waste of that money. And I'm sure he spent over $27 million on commercials all over the city. So a lot of times we can't just expect people, like you said, the people who are taking care of things to continue to bear the load for people who don't. We have another caller. I'll get back to that. Caller, you on the air?
Hello. How are you all this evening?
We're all right today. How about yourself?
All right. Mr. Page and Nelson, this is Donna Owens.
Hey, Miss Owens, how you doing? I got you 2 nights this week, tonight and tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Jack. This is Donna Owens. Young lady that you see here with Chris Cooper.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I just want to commend you as well. For the past 3 years, I have noticed about you was the reset subject.
That's right.
And I always said that I would want to meet you.
Okay.
So, when you see me in person, I'm already observing you and very glad that but about my action. And Fabian Nelson, the one right beside you, would tell you that. And I'm glad that he's right there being involved with you and things of nature that you are talking about that will impact the community because about our action. So, Fabian Nelson, I just want to say that you took charge once again. When you and I both agreed and understood in the past 3 years prior that we went to God University, you stepped in, whereas for the mayor concern and the others when it comes down to these apartment complex and bringing everything that according to all the where they not applying far as the health of the conditions, far as the children condition, or the welfare of the apartment. And I commend you all for going out there because those things matter and it has really effect. And I want to say, Mr. James, coming aboard with the reset and looked at my vision when it came down to want to do slice of watermelon, the closing, and far to go to the area. I want to commend when Chris Cooper called me that Sunday and stated that Mr. Joseph Holliday said the forest area was Rebel Woods. And I appreciate that because this has been a vision to bring out things that we can do for the needy and put those eyes on those places. So that works both hands for me as well. And I commend you all. So when it go forward, Fabian Nelson, I just let you know that you open the gate. You just a floodgate.
That's right.
When you say you throughout, and that's the mission that I wanted as well, that we hit those places and God put his eyes on. So I'm going to keep it short right there, but I just want to say I commend you all.
Thank you so much.
much, Ms. Donna.
All right, then. Talk to you later.
All right.
Talk to you later, Ms. Owens.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to finish the statement I was making, then we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about something different.
Okay.
But I was questioning the fact that he's been pretty much getting everything he wanted. He's been having his way. He's raised the water bill twice. We're paying for water that a lot of people don't even use, but the fact that he would say, well, I'll just quit if I can't raise the bills again. It says a lot about, and I don't want to say his character, but it says a lot about the entitlement that has been given to him, where he feels like, well, if I can't do everything my way, you've been given everything. A 95 is still an A. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be 100.
Right.
He has a 95, and to say that I'm not willing to do any more tests because you won't give me that 100. I mean, it just says a lot, about who we're dealing with. And I've said throughout the campaign, we should already have someone working side by side, whether the city had to pay him or not, working with Ted Hennepin. So when he leaves, which he will leave, there shouldn't be a big gap between the timeline of somebody who can step in, and keep that same work going. But to Mayor Horn, if you're listening, or if it gets back to you, let's get us somebody that can do Mr. Hennefin's job. It's time to start looking now, not when he leaves. So let's get that done, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
We're back. This is James Hopkins, the host of Your Words, Your Voice, and my guest today is Mississippi State Representative Fabian Nelson. Again, let's keep those calls coming. The line is 601-387-2684. Again, that's 601-387-2684. And before we went on the break, we were talking about Jackson Water. So go ahead and finish what you were saying then.
All right, yeah. And so, we ended up getting ultimately about $800 million in federal funds for the water system. Mm-hmm. That was a good start. Mm-hmm. We knew we were going to need way more than that. Mm-hmm. And so these years that, the money's been used in trying to identify sources where we can get additional money from.
Right.
One thing that people don't tell you is Jackson Water's collection percentage is not much better than the city of Jackson, so they have not been collecting more money. Mm-hmm. Now, what we did is we actually passed legislation last session, mm-hmm. which will allow Jackson Water to be able to receive loans and all these different things that they need, like other water associations can, mm-hmm. due to the structure of it, and Mississippi law said that they couldn't. Mm-hmm. So we've opened up that door to where we can get Jackson Water funded for the additional resources. And so, I say to Ted is, let's go to work and figure out how we get those additional dollars to continue to work. Because, I will say, he has done an amazing job.
He has.
An amazing job. So we cannot discredit the job that's been done. But now is not the time for him to leave.
Right.
Maybe get someone on your staff that can be delegated to finding funding sources so that we can continue to work on our water system.
Right. And again, I agree. Like I said, a majority of the time you hear me talk about Jackson Water is always positive. Yes. Because you can definitely see the difference. But
I'm drinking some right now in my cup.
The pity party stuff about I'm just going to leave it. Yeah. To me, that's overkill. And now just hearing that they do have other ways of getting resources.
Yes.
Let's tap into those instead of just constantly raising bills, because at some point you got to stop raising bills, And I thought that they were doing much better with collection because, again, the articles that I read, including the Clarion Ledger article, says they're at 71% collections. Now, if I'm wrong, I read it wrong or it was written wrong, but my understanding is that Jackson collection was under 50%. So when you talk about that's a huge increase, 50% to 70%. That's, 20 more percent. So, look, let's hire somebody that can get that money, Mr. Hennepin.
That's it. Get those dollars.
And stay here. If you plan on leaving, don't just leave high and dry. Yep. Get somebody in there, train them to take the position. And then if you still feel like you want to leave, then just leave. But then also respect the judicial system. You know, if it was the right thing to do and there was no questions to be asked about it, I'm sure Judge Wingate would have went ahead and approved. You know, so just, you know, trust the process. We're in this. We have to trust the process. And I just pray that, you know, you mellow out a little bit and just trust the process and hope things work out for the citizens of Jackson. I want to turn the page to something, another topic that we've been dealing with, and is also something that you've been heavily involved in, and that's people dumping trash around the city of Jackson. You know, that's been a big deal, and the apartment complex have kind of taken over, but people are still dumping trash throughout the city of Jackson. I know in some of your rural areas you may see the same thing, but nothing like in Jackson. And a lot of them are being arrested now, you know, which is a good thing. But James Hopkins, the guy you mentioned,
absolutely,
has been going around this city. And again, I talked about him last week. I'm talking about it again this week, but I got to get him on this show so you all can meet this guy. His character is just amazing. And the fact that he goes around this city, and how much does he normally get paid?
He's doing that for free.
For free.
He's not charging anything.
He's doing this for free. He's doing work that we have departments within the city
absolutely
to do. But he's doing it for free. So somebody's getting paid to do the work that he does for free. But tell me, what do you think is one of the main reasons that people are okay with dumping trash in Jackson?
This will be a 6-hour conversation for me. I get fired when we talk about illegal dumping. Well, what's happening is, what we found out is most people that's doing this illegal dumping don't even live in the city of Jackson. They're coming out of Rankin County, Madison County. We've even seen someone from Leake County, Carthage areas come down here. And what's going on is people are being paid, contractors are paying people to haul construction material debris off. They're getting $200-$300 to haul it off. So instead of going paying a dump, they bring it to Jackson and dump it over here in Jackson. The tire shops, they pay people to dispose of those tires. They even charge you a fee. I think it's like $2 per tire disposal fee.
Yeah, it's $5 now.
$5 now?
$5
you pay that, and what happens is they get these people to come in, and they'll come in, I'll take it to the dump, and they'll take it and just store it in the street somewhere in the city of Jackson. And I was very disappointed. Just recently called a pastor and his son dumping over in one of the areas.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Me and Deja was talking about that, because actually there was a hint from a law enforcement officer, hey, you better tell your pastor to turn himself in by Friday or we're going to get him. And then the next day he had turned himself in. But that just, it blew my mind. And people, don't get it wrong, pastors are human too.
Absolutely.
Pastors make mistakes just like anybody else, you know. But the fact that some of the conversation from people says that he was one of the ones that was always talking about helping to clean up the community. And I think that's what kind of, you know, blew me back. But, you know, people be like, oh, that's why I don't trust preachers. I don't trust preachers. You know, you trust the people you bumping into in the club. So, you know, we're not going to bash the pastors because they are human. But what really shocked me about it is the fact that he was one of the ones that, you know, talked about keeping the communities clean.
Yeah, and that's what we see happening. When we started working, because we really brought light to this to Jackson Police Department.
Right,
we were over on. We started at Glen Aaron, and we got when we said.
I remember that. And who cleaned Glen Aaron up?
That was James Hopkins over there cleaning it up, and then Supervisor Evers had a crew come in as well and assist. But even after her team left, Mr. Hobson, he was so in-depth that he went and cleaned the yards up. There were houses that we didn't even know were over there because it was overgrown.
Wow.
He cleaned that whole area up. But we started talking to JPD, and we said something has to be done about this illegal dumping. And believe it or not, we got pushback from some of the citizens in Jackson. And they were telling us, all this crime, you can't catch criminals, but y'all go out here and catch people that are illegally dumping. And I told them crime is crime. And if we can put measures in place to stop this illegal dumping, we're going to do that. If we can put measures in place to find other criminals, we're going to do that. You have to deal with what you can deal with, the attainable goals. And that was one that was attainable. And every time I see the news come on and somebody getting hauled in for illegal dumping, I feel good, because it doesn't make sense for our citizens to have to live, maintain their property, and you have people throwing sofas and beds and refrigerators and stoves next door to you.
Right.
So we got to clean the community up so that people will start back taking pride in it. And that's going to always be my stance on it. People don't deserve to have to live like that.
Okay, and I agree with you. I love the fact that these cameras are hidden within the trees.
Yep.
You know, they'll see the big flashing blue lights and assume, okay, well, this is a camera. But they're not aware that these dumping sites, and I'm letting the cat out of the bag, so maybe it'll stop y'all from coming, so you won't have to just not worry about getting caught, but just don't come with your mess. Are hidden within the trees. I love it.
We have cameras everywhere. Every time somebody called me and said, hey, illegal dumped over here. On my show last week, they called them about illegal dumping. I told them, well, just tell them to go on back out there now and see what happens.
Right.
JPD is going to get them
Right.
and prosecute them. I want to see other things done as far as sanctions that can be placed on them, penalties, fines, and things of that sort. We need to make sure that we're holding them accountable for that, because that's something that's just trifling.
It is. Let me ask you something. I'm not familiar with, how y'all write your bills and all that, or what bills can be passed. Especially with these tire companies, is there any kind of legislation that can be put forth to track these tires once they leave the tire shop? That will have to be, they will have to keep record from the beginning of whoever sold them the tires. You sign off right there from the shop it left, and wherever it ended up. They have to also have a signature of where those tires ended up. Is there any type of legislation that can be put forth? And I know you'll probably have people, not want to do it, but I think you understand the question I'm asking. There's just a way to track these tires so people won't be able to, take them from Big Ten and then just drop them off in Georgetown.
Yeah, and that's a real good question. When we write bills, that's what we do. We sit down and we look at the pros and cons. I'm going to tell you what I think about that is how are we tracking the tires? Do tires have serial numbers? If they don't have serial numbers, and how we can't say, oh, this is a Kumo tire here.
No, I don't mean track like each individual tire. I mean track the load. Fabian comes to my shop and he picks up 500 tires.
Okay.
I sign off that Fabian picked up 500 tires at this day on this time. He ends up at Deja's shop. And Deja signs off, he dropped off 500 tires. So now your tires have been tracked from point A to point B.
Okay.
But if I sign off and Fabian got 500 tires and there's never a closeout spot of where Fabian dropped those tires off, then we have to start watching Fabian, because I believe Fabian is the one dumping these tires in Jackson.
That's a good idea. Because we have, I think it's over in Clinton, where you can take tires, and that's where they have to take them to. That's similar to legislation we did about copper. And so if you want to take copper to the can man, you have to give a photo ID. That way, because people go in and take the copper out of houses.
Right.
And so that way, the police can go to the can man and say, hey, can you show us a record of everybody that came in with copper? And if you see Fabian with 5 copper loads this week, then you can go call and say, Fabian, where are you getting all this copper from?
Right.
So that is something that is attainable when it comes to that, and that's something that is possible if we are tire shops, and that would help the tire shops, because they're paying for a service that's not being rendered. You're paying for a service for these people to haul them off, and they're not doing it, and so I think this is something that we can possibly look at doing.
Okay, and we're going to call it the Hopkins Law.
The Hopkins.
Okay, yeah. And another thing I was going to ask you about the apartment complex. I know that a lot of them, actually all of these who are getting behind on their bills, they're charging water within the cost of the rent. Now, as tenants, what legal rights do they have? Let's say if you've been living in an apartment complex for 3 years and now you're finding out for 3 years they haven't paid the water bill, do they have any legal rights as far as the portion of their rent that has been going towards the water bill? Do they have any kind of legal rights where they can get some of that money back, or do the apartment complex just say, well, at least you had water?
Absolutely. That was not criminal, it's civil. And so civilly, they can sue the landlord and ask that their money, be refunded to them.
Okay, y'all listen to that now. Y'all
Yes.
better share this to everybody that live in apartment complex. I'm gonna ask him this question again now. And he doesn't claim to be an attorney, but I'm gonna ask him this question. So y'all listen. I'm gonna ask it again. Share this to everybody you know live in apartment complex that's had water cut off. Mr. Nelson, apartment complexes add a monthly water fee within their rental agreement. Is there any way that people who have lost water doing all this stuff going on and that in the apartment complex has not been paying a water bill, can they sue the apartment complex for the amount that they charge for water?
Absolutely. Because the apartment complex, number one, they have not paid Jackson Water. Where is the money that I've been giving you? I've been giving you money to pay for water. And so the apartment complex can say, well, you had water. No, the tenants had water because Jackson Water didn't do their job in disconnecting the water.
Okay.
But I paid for a service that I have not gotten. You hadn't paid Jackson Water, so I want my money back. So civilly, they can. It needs to be criminal. If it could be
really
a criminal
does.
charges, it does. That's very much similar to embezzlement. If I'm paying you and I'm trusting that you're paying my water bill so that me and my family can have water, and you're taking that money and you're doing something else with it, if you're doing that on the job, that's embezzlement.
That's embezzlement.
But this is like I said, it's all civil now. But yes, that's an option I hope people consider.
Now, what if the apartment complex said, well, that money goes for the trash collection, because you know all of them have trash. What if they say, well, the majority of that goes for trash collection anyway? How do you rebut that or debate that?
We need to find out, has Waste Management or whoever the trash pickup person, have they been paid? If they have been paid, then we need to figure out what percentage is allocated towards trash and what percentage is allocated towards water.
Okay.
And when we find a percentage out that's allocated towards water, they need to give the people their money back.
Yeah. So I think that's important, though, because we were talking about it, and I was going to ask you, because I'm thinking about bills, because they're not going to stop unless you hit them in their pockets.
Absolutely.
You know, and then there has to be something concrete that they can say, okay, well, this is a guideline, this is a guideline. As a representative, are you all, or can you all pass bills, even, you know, especially aimed toward apartment complexes, where they separate the amount for the water bill from the rent?
Okay, so separated. So
Not separate, even if it's added in, we say, okay, you're going to be paying $75 a month for water.
Okay.
Where that's stated in the contract that this is the amount you'll be paying for water every month. So if it does come to a term where everybody in the apartment complex get together and say, hey, we're going to sue them, they know exactly what they're suing for.
Yes. And now what should happen in that lease agreement? That lease agreement should say the landlord is, landlord is not responsible. In this case, tenant is responsible for water. Tenant will pay additional X for water. It should be in the lease agreement as that.
Yeah.
They can't just have it blanket and then, because they could say, oh, your water bill $200 this month. Okay, next month, oh, it's $50. Oh, next month it's $300.
Okay.
So they would have to specify in that lease agreement the amount. Now, it may say water and garbage. I'm not sure. If it doesn't, we can figure out how much the garbage bill is and deduct it.
Okay. They just told me it is in there like that, separated. So what can we do to make sure that they're actually paying these bills? I know it's, again, Jackson Water has to do their job.
Yes, we have to make sure that Jackson Water is staying on top of past due balances. Hopefully with Mayor Horn's apartment task force.
And he says there's 15, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He said there are 15 apartment complexes that they're going to release the name of that are at least $100,000 behind, but most of them are $200,000 behind. And there are two businesses that are over $300,000 behind.
I want to say total like $4.5 million roughly as to what's owed to Jackson Water.
Yeah, but I got a disconnect notice because I skipped a month and my bill was $180, and I got a disconnect notice. So come on now.
Well, you need to call them and tell them that
No, I just paid it. I just forgot to pay it. But it's just funny how you can get that kind of
Call
bill.
them and tell you an apartment complex, and they'll let it run up for the next 10 years.
Yeah, everybody from now on, when they ask where you live, tell them you are an apartment complex. Yeah,
they know something we don't know.
They know something we don't know, but it's not good. But hopefully they can get things worked out. My next question for you: just tell us who Mr. Fabian Nelson is, aside from being a state representative. Aside from being the man out in the community all the time.
That's who I am.
Just who is Mr. Fabian Nelson?
That's me, born in the Mississippi Delta, so I grew up in Yazoo City. So all throughout the Delta, my father was a dentist, and so he traveled through the Delta in communities that didn't have access to oral health. And so that's where I kind of got my community spirit from, and wanting to help people. And then seeing the Delta, it's sad to say, but it's like a third world country in some of those parts of the Delta. So being young and seeing it always made me want to do something to be able to help people. So I've always kept that with me. I left Yazoo City when I graduated, came to school here at Jackson State, the I love. I graduated with a degree in biology from Jackson State. Had a real estate license, and so I've been selling real estate for almost 20 years now. That's something I'm very, very passionate about. And when it came time to run for office, I said, hey, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to see what I can do. And as you said, my first election was a special election. I ran that election. I had 33 votes that time. And normally when a person loses by a margin that low, you're at the bottom of the ballot and you get less than 1% of the vote. You're going to say, I'm not doing it again. People don't like me. What is it about me? People think about what's wrong. Why are people not voting, for me? But for me, I saw that as a challenge. I said,
How did you change their mind, though? Like 33 votes.
You know what I did? I really got out there in the community, and I showed people who Fabian was. A lot of people think, when you're a politician, you got to be politically correct. You got to say this. You got to use big words. You got to use that. But that's not the case. People want to see that you're human. People want to see that you can relate to their community and the situations, that they're in. I'm a single parent, so I can relate to single parents and the struggles that we have.
Right.
And so that's what people want to see. So when you're running for office, you can't put a persona on that, I'm this, I'm that. You just have to show them the real you. Either people are going to like who you are or not like who you are. And if they don't want to vote for you because they don't like who you are, that's their choice. Right. Because that's their community. You cannot go in and forge your way in, because when you go in there and you're faking, you sell them a dream. When you get in office, they are going to tear you apart. Number one, they're going to tear you apart. And number two, you're going to try to continue to live up to that dream you sold.
Right.
And if it's not in your heart, you're not going to be able to do it.
Right.
I told them, I said, look, I want to be involved in the community. I want to be involved in our schools. When I was campaigning, I was out to schools and teacher appreciation, taking my teachers lunch for teacher appreciation. I'll be out at two of my schools, Byron Middle School and Utica Elementary, tomorrow morning. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do both of them, but I'm taking the teacher's breakfast for that first day back at school.
Okay.
And it's not nothing big and extravagant, but that's just something to show them that somebody cares about them. That's what we have to get back to, just, showing that love and encouraging other people. When people see me do this, I want other people to step up and say, hey, what do I need to do? How do I sign up? What is it? Because we got to get back to that sense of community, because we're so far detached from community right now.
Right.
It's a dog-eat-dog world. Empathy. We lack empathy as people.
Right.
We got to figure out how to get that back in there. And so that's who I am.
Okay. Yeah, and I've always, we talk all the time about how do we get other leaders involved in the work that goes on in the community. And I know, they're busy and this and that, but you got to be able to have at least 1 hour at some point to go into the community.
That's it. People,
even if you get your lunch at McDonald's and drive through the community, shake a few hands or something, they're just not making time for the communities.
They're not. But when election time comes, you're not going to be able to keep them at your church, at your HOA meetings, every single thing, water giveaways. So that's not right. And as people, we have to stop them in their tracks from that. We say, look, you can't come in here. If you have not been on this road with us, this time you've been in office, don't come around here.
But we don't do that, though.
Not at all.
Churches open the doors because, hey, we got Mr. Nelson coming to church today.
Yes.
You know, and some of them may get whatever, you know, deals made or whatever. But it's just one of those things. And I learned a lot running for mayor. I saw a lot of things that I've always wondered about, but they were actually confirmed as I ran for office. You know, it's really disappointing, you know, not the campaign, but disappointing the things that I learned,
The environment
about our people, you know, especially when it comes to politics, you know, and even how people pick, you know, the people that they do pick. But anyway, you know, it's
you know, with me, when I ran the second time, I had people literally, some elected officials told me, you need to get out the race. You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Because my opponents were both well-known in the community, and they were telling me, you'll never win. I said, look, I don't care about that. It could be Barack Obama on the ballot.
Exactly.
I'm going to run. I'm going to put my all, and I'm going to put my
and you're
message
gonna
out
finish
there.
the race.
That's it. I'm going because at the end of the day, win or lose, I can say that I gave it my all.
Right. So you telling me, with my votes, I should still run again if I'm led to run again?
Absolutely.
I shouldn't give up?
Not at all.
You mean I shouldn't throw in the towel?
Not at all.
I shouldn't say this isn't for me. I shouldn't say forget the people of Jackson.
You should
I
not.
should get back out there and fight for them again.
You should get back out there and fight. You're still out there working and still fighting even after the campaign is over. So that's your sign right there.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm grateful that I did not win the first time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't my time.
Mm-hmm.
The God was still working on me, preparing me. And he made me work so hard that second time around till I understood my purpose.
Right.
And that's why I still work hard now. Okay. And so if I had slid in there the first time, I may not have been as effective as I am now.
Okay.
And so sometimes, you know, it just wasn't your time at the moment. But that's not saying that your time not going to be next time.
Right.
You know, when we look at Mayor Horn, you know.
5 times.
5 times. He's been in the Senate for 30, almost 40 years. He's ran for mayor 5 times. Had he given up, he would not be the mayor. He won overwhelmingly this time because guess what? Now is his time.
It's time, that's right.
And so you cannot give up. You know, the harder you work for something, the more you're going to respect it when you get it.
Right.
With my constituents not knowing who I was, I worked so hard to earn their vote that I say, hey, I got to keep on going because I came out here and, you know, fell in love with them. They fell in love with me. And so you got to keep on working. So, no, you don't give up.
Okay.
You got to be resilient.
Be resilient.
There's so many people that have given up.
Well, look, if the Lord send me back, I'll be back.
That's it.
And I'm going to use you as my template. Look, the man got 33 votes, then he won it all.
Yep.
But look, it was a pleasure having you on here. Our time's about up. And you're definitely going to have to come back on here again.
Most
and
definitely.
Look, we can
We'll
talk about some more stuff once y'all get a few bills passed, and we can talk about some of the bills y'all passed and, you know, why you think they're going to be good for the city, well, for your district and for the state. But Mr. Fabian Nelson, pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
We're going to move on. Next week we will have Mr. Hey.
I know who that is.
Mr. Howard Sanders.
That's my guy.
Community Strong, and he's going to bring the energy. So y'all tune in next week. Your words, your voice. This is James Hopkins and my co-host Deja signing out.